Meantime, 6 local government areas in Queensland will move to stage 2 restrictions from 4 p.m. It comes after 6 new local COVID cases were recorded. For the next 2 weeks, the following restrictions will be in place for Brisbane, the Gold Coast, Moreton Bay, Townsville and Palm Island. The rules are 30 people will be allowed in a home, including residents and children. Funerals and weddings will be capped at 100 people. 20 people will be able to dance at weddings. Capacity in stadiums and events will be decreased to 75%. That includes Sunday's NRL Grand Final. Hospitality venues will be returning to the 1 person per 4 square metre rule. Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk has defended her decision not to enforce a lockdown, declaring it isn't because of the NRL Grand Final this weekend.
I think Queenslanders know we'll always put the health of them first, and that's exactly what we'll do. This is the advice that's being provided to me by Dr Young, and it's going to depend each day how things progress in this state. Let me make it very clear that the health of Queenslanders comes first, and as soon as Dr Young says we need to move into a lockdown, we will.
4 of the cases are linked to the aviation cluster, including a fully vaccinated pilot who flew to Townsville. One is a Brisbane woman who acquired the virus in the northern New South Wales town of Kyogle. The final case was a Queensland resident who was returning from Melbourne and was infectious on Virgin Flight VA333 on September 27th before testing positive in hotel quarantine. Let's bring in now Queensland Editor Peter Gleeson. Peter, what does this all mean for the NRL Grand Final? It's a huge weekend coming up there in Queensland.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ash. Well, what it means is that we will have a much reduced capacity at Suncorp Stadium. Instead of 52,000 there will be 39,000 people there. That means 13,000 people who had purchased tickets for the Grand Final will now not be going. So there'll be a lot of disappointed people around the southeast today. The basis is last on, worst off, so to speak. So if you bought a ticket in the last few days, and there were many snapped up early in the week when they had that player and coaches distribution put out there, that means that you will not be able to go. So it's almost as if, Ash, that the Grand Final is hanging on by a thread. You just heard Annastacia Palaszczuk say earlier today that if the health advice from Jeanette Young is that there should be a lockdown, well, that will then go ahead. Now, of course, the plan B was always Townsville, but that's now been thrown into disarray by the fact that they too are on level 2 restrictions and are just a hair's breadth off going into lockdown. So, look, it's a real movable feast. Obviously, tomorrow's numbers will be crucial, as will the community transmission aspect of this particular pandemic. All eyes on the numbers in the next 24 hours. I'd say that the chances of it going ahead are still okay, but wouldn't put anything past Chief Health Officer Jeanette Young if, in fact, those numbers deteriorate badly.
And Peter, I mean, that's pretty likely from what we know about the Delta virus. Early on, we can see these numbers jump around a lot. So, as you say, all eyes will be on the press conference tomorrow to find out where the numbers have gone. But it seems pretty likely that they could deteriorate.
Indeed. And, of course, the truckie who was the centre of this latest cluster out in the community infectious for 8 days, was in share accommodation, you know, super spreader written all over that particular guy. But look, it's almost as if Queensland, and certainly to a lesser extent WA, now going through this process where they've put the fortress up, they put the borders up, they are trying to stave off the inevitability of a Delta outbreak. Of course, the timing of this one is so important because it is a showpiece event, the NRL Grand Final. Let's hope that it does go ahead. But as I said earlier, there are a lot of disappointed ticket holders today, particularly those who were on in the last few days, who purchased their tickets in the last few days.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We don't want another event to be cancelled by this wretched COVID. Peter Gleeson, thank you for your analysis.
See ya.